Okay, now I'm going to talk about how to make this wall system, how to create this wall system. And the first thing in your test question was create a wall type that is of 2x4 construction with common brick exterior, 1-inch airspace, vapor retarder, sheathing, 1/2 inch drywall interior, and at an unconnected height of 10 feet, or actually that says 10 inches. If you put 10 inches on your test response, then that would have been perfectly okay. But let's fix that while we're in it. And let's see. So that should say 10 feet, not 10 inches. Okay, anyway, the point of that is there's some information that you should already have, or should be able to find. So create a wall that is of 2x4 construction, so you know that when you're creating this wall, you're going to have a thickness just with the 2x4 of 3.5 inches. Common brick exterior, again, if you used anything between 3.5 and 4 inches for your brick exterior, great. You could have even used the one that was already loaded into Revit, into a wall in Revit, and that would have been perfectly fine. Then, of course, the 1-inch airspace, which is between the bricks and the vapor barrier. Okay, vapor retarder, sheathing, which sheathing we should always know that it's 3/4 inch unless we're told otherwise. 1/2 inch drywall interior, which we know as sheetrock and or gypsum wallboard. And it should be 1/2 inch thick, and if you use what's already preloaded into a wall in Revit, then it will already be 1/2 inch for you. And then the unconnected height at 10 feet. All right, so let's go back to Revit really quick, and let's create that wall. Okay, so again, I'm going to start with a wall. And I am going to go to the type selector and choose a template wall, a wall that I'm going to base my structure off of. Okay, so I chose that exterior brick on metal stud. And then I'm going to click on Edit Type. All right, I do not want to edit the default wall that's in Revit. I want to duplicate it and make my own. And the only thing I really need to change here is where it says metal stud. I can call this softwood lumber, or I can call it timber. I can call it 2x4 if I want to. Okay. Always name any of the types that you create. Then you'll know what they are when you look at them over here in the type selector. Okay, so next I'll go to the structure. And as you see on the exterior side, just look up top and this will say we're on the exterior side. And you see that the finish, the exterior finish, brick common 3 5/8 inch. That's perfectly fine. You can leave that there just like it is. It does not need any more adjustments. If you wanted to adjust it and make it 4 inches, you certainly could. But it doesn't, you don't want to adjust it making it 1/2 inch, an inch, or anything like that. You need to maintain a real life typical brick size. The next layer is a thermal air layer, which typically is anywhere between 1 and 4 inches. We really don't need a 3-inch air thermal layer on this wall. We just need a 1-inch thermal layer, so I just changed that to 1 inch, not 1 foot, but 1 inch. Okay, make sure you are careful about the punctuation you use for inch and foot. Inch is a double quotation mark, foot is a single quotation mark. But anyway, I've got my 1-inch airspace. Next is the membrane layer, air infiltration barrier. Now I'm not going to use an air infiltration barrier here. I'm going to use a vapor retarder. So I'm just going to click on the button to change that material to the good old tried and true vapor retarder. And it does not get a dimension as far as thickness because it is very thin. We just really don't account for it. Okay, the next one is our substrate. As far as the function is substrate, the material is plywood sheathing, and it is 3/4 inch thick, and it's already set in Revit for you. All right, here's where we have to do a little bit more editing. This is the core boundary. This is the structure. This is what holds the wall up. This is what you see when you drive down the road and someone is building a house and you see this timber skeleton, just coming up out of the ground. Okay. Now in this case, it's by default a metal stud layer, but we're not going to use metal studs. We're going to use softwood lumber. So we change that to softwood lumber. And because, again, going back to the test question, that I am creating a 2x4 construction, all right, that tells me that this wall should be 3.5 inches thick, okay, on the thickness, 3.5 inches. You can also type in 3.5 and Revit will interpret that for you. The interior membrane layer, do not need that, okay? So I'm going to delete it. And then I'm left with the gypsum wallboard for the interior finish. And that's what I'm going to keep it just like it is. It's 1/2 of an inch. You can change that on a design if you're doing something that requires a thicker interior finish, but of course, as our instructions tell us, 1/2 inch drywall interior. The next thing says unconnected at 10 foot. All right, so let's go back to Revit. Because the wall is already fixed the way we want it, we're going to click OK, and we're going to click OK again, and we're going to go over here to our properties panel, and here is where we can adjust our unconnected height. All right, unconnected means it's not connected to anything yet, like a roof. Okay, but we want to change that to 10 feet, just because. Then we click apply, and now we have our 10-foot walls. You can also look over here at your preview and see that your wall looks like normal, and that would be an indication. If it did not look normal, that would be an indication that something was wrong. You can also, when you're in the edit field, you can click on this preview button, and you can also see a preview right here. It shows the different layers.